Have you heard about the NFID Foundation yet? They are spearheading the SSI, that's Self-Sovereign Identity movement, towards decentralized verifiable credentials. NFID exists to help companies launch products which reduce the costs of regulatory risk associated with collecting and storing PII, that's personally identifiable information, by eliminating the need for having it in the first place. Learn more about NFID and collaborate with current member companies who specialize in physical identity and access control. Visit nfid.foundation for more information.
If people really knew what they were giving up, I bet people would be, they may not. I mean, some might just like, I don't care. I need to have my backup. I need to have my access to, my phone breaks or whatever. Well, there's that convenience, right? There's that convenience with this decision you're going to make. Convenience always trumps security. Always trumps security. I want it secure. Well, it's not convenient. Wow. Make it convenient because I want it to, I want to be able to get in when I want to get in. And then when something happens, well, how could this happen? Well, because you wanted us to just enable the password that we've been using for the last 25 years because you didn't want to write it down.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the Aid to Entry podcast, and thanks for tuning in however or wherever you found us. At Aid to Entry, we speak with executives, tech geeks, influencers, and changemakers who are embracing new identity technologies in the digital transformation of physical and online access. Now, what does that mean? Stay tuned, listen closely, and you'll find out. Because what we're talking about affects every part of society. In Season 1, we'll mostly focus on physical security. We will talk with leading security experts in the industry who are beginning to see what I refer to as the art of the possible, which is using new identity technology solutions for creating a more touchless, mobile, frictionless experience for their end user customers. In this case, we're talking about physical and online access permissions at work and at play. Everything from boarding an airplane, getting approved for a home loan, going to a stadium to see your favorite sports team or concert, paying your taxes online, to logging onto your computer at work or just having a work door open because you have access permission using Aid to Entry technology. I call it moving from a Flintstones to Jetsons world, and it's happening before our eyes if you look for it. Critical to the conversation, though, we also need to be able to look at the legal, privacy, compliance, and trust issues we must take into consideration as we continue down this path. We need to educate the public about what businesses are doing with our PII, personally identifiable information, our data. I'm your host and tour guide, Doug O'Gordon, Chief Identity Hunter at Get to the Point Media. Now let's get to the point. Okay, this is it. Season 1, Episode 3, and I'm excited to introduce my guest today. We're going to talk with Sean Ahrens. I always spell your name wrong. I'm sorry, Sean. But you know why? I have a friend, Ahrens was his last name, and a very famous friend in the industry who passed away, and I've always called you that. I apologize. You can call me Dog, I tell everyone. But Sean,
not a problem, Dog.
Call me Dog. I'm going to introduce Sean Ahrens. He's the threat sayer and threat slayer. He is a physical security hacker, and he gets paid to tell companies where their weaknesses are in the real world, the physical world. And he states that clearly on his LinkedIn page. You picked the wrong guy if you're looking for somebody to fix your cyber hack. Sean, welcome.
Thanks for having me aboard.
It's always fun and educational catching up with you. I love going to breakfast or coffee. I always learn something. And we usually don't hit record. We don't hit record. We just have messages, and we do it in the normal world. And today we're on the podcast. So I'm hoping we can capture, again, those sort of same conversations we normally have with an audience. Are you ready to try?
Absolutely. Let's go for it.
Yeah. All right, man. Okay, so let's start real quick. Give me your 30-second elevator pitch on what you do, and in your own words, I'm not going to try to screw it up for you. What do you do?
30 years of security management experience. I'm basically paid to be paranoid for my client's benefit. That involves security assessments, policy procedure development, security systems design, bringing that, historical as well as wealth of experience to support tomorrow's uncertainties.
Yeah, you get paid to tell people what they're doing wrong. I love that. I got to say, I read your LinkedIn a lot, and I say you slay and spray a lot of scary shit on LinkedIn sometimes. And I congratulate you for that because good for you. I mean, it's good to post those questions that are the questions, the unanswered. Um, what's been your most interesting post to date? The one that you shot across the bow, you were worried about it when you hit send, and later on it went viral.
Wow. I would say probably my one post, which was deliberate in nature with regards to security systems design related to door hardware and just the fundamental mess ups that can occur if they're not properly coordinated and some of the challenges as a result of that. And that was an infographic that I put on about the complexity of door hardware. And it came out of a conversation I had with a client that was sitting at the table and says to me, I said, well, we really need to do this door hardware coordination meeting. The architect says, why? I mean, what's so complex about it? And then I popped this graphic up and the infographic really described that complexity and just I put it on LinkedIn and it's a great graphic. I'm sure a lot of people have stolen it now, but it really stimulated a really large following. I still get posts on it to this day and seeing how fast it's growing and likes. I don't even get notification on likes. I only see if someone comments on it. And it had a huge engagement and so many impressions. I was probably a LinkedIn influencer for a little bit.
That's cool, and I'm glad it was access because that's sort of what we're talking about is the future of access permissions. Using newer technology, uh, converging digital and physical, and kind of what that looks like. So we'll put that in the chat. Maybe we'll put a link to that exact. You can email me that, and we'll put it in the chat. Next question. I've kind of learned the hard way not to tell people where you're going because we run in similar circles. So, and not to tell people what you're doing. So sometimes now that I've blown your cover more than once, I guess. We basically said, I've said, hey, Sean, what are you doing next week? Which led to, me blowing your cover. And now I know better now. So my question is, you deal with some really hard subject matter, painful situations. I'll list a few: active shooters, job terminations, forced entry situations. Predicting before someone can react is sort of what your job is. So, again, scary stuff. So you paint the picture to show these companies where their hole is in their boat. Tell me ones that you can tell me about on this podcast that, certain situations that scared the crap out of you, I guess.
I mean, it's a myriad of engagements that I've seen different things that scare the crap out of me and not necessarily the client because it's been institutionalized. I always describe that when I do assessments and I convey what I call an opportunity to the client. And as I'm doing that, they have an aha moment where they just like, oh, that's not good. We shouldn't be doing that, should we? But sometimes they just, hey, listen, we're going to continue doing it the way we're going to do it. And thanks so much for coming out here and, giving us this information. I have one client, and it's probably in my, 30-year career, the only time this ever happened. We found 185 things. They only took 4 of them. So, but I've learned that, my job is just to paint the picture or describe the road path. It's not necessarily to force them on that road, nor is it a requirement for them to buy the picture, right? So I've been in many discussions.
They still got to pay you though.
Oh, they have to pay me, yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, I used to get really kind of upset, like, you hired me to do this. Why aren't you listening to me? This is a big issue, right? And I would find that, they just didn't like that. So my approach has been for the last 15 years is you hired me to do a job. I'm here to describe opportunities in your protective program. You need to make a business decision about if you're going to make those changes or not. You're going to make a business risk decision. And, I'm here to support you if you decide to implement that. And if you decide not to, that's fine as well. You're going to accept that risk from a risk management perspective. And it goes just over a little bit better. There's no more emotion in it. There's no more things that like, well, yeah, this is a problem and something that you want to consider fixing. And if they don't do it, I walk away with it knowing that I did everything I possibly could to try to communicate the risk of occurrence.
We don't want to get into the exact details on anything, but
I could
I
give you a
wanted to ask
story. I mean, we could spend a whole,
you.
I mean,
Give
I
me your
could go
best
on
example
and
of
on and on and on. I mean, like from, hey, this door has got an exit sign and it goes into a closet.
Okay.
Or another one was, this is early on in my career. When you do a security assessment, the first thing they have to do is ascertain where the assets are and what assets are critical. And this particular project, we identified one of the critical assets was a trade secret process for how they managed a specific material. This product is used quite extensively in machinery. And it is the only product that is used in machinery because of how effective this product works. That trade secret is something that they know has been sought after by foreign countries, non-state countries, and they recognize that it is a big concern. And so we started off the assessment. I said, where's the trade secret located? And they said, it's very secure, super secure. I'm sure you'll come across it during your assessment. Okay, Mr. CFO, and off I go. So we're there for, I don't know, probably a week, maybe a week and a half. And through the course of this, I saw vaults larger than banks vaults. I mean, huge. I'm like, trade secret there? Nope. Trade secret there? Nope. Trade secret there? Nope. And finally, at the end of the assessment, we're doing a debrief. I do my debrief with the client, just kind of give them a high level of, kind of things, opportunities I found. And the CFO says to me, hey, did you get everything? I said, well, yeah, we had a really exhaustive assessment. You miss anything from your assessment? Well, yeah, we never found the trade secret, but no one knew where it was. Oh, that's very secure.
That sounds like a good idea.
Well, he says,
right?
he says it's very secure. And I'm, okay, great. Well, that's what everybody told us, is very secure. So we're going to just exclude it. And you see him, he's sitting at the table, he sits back like this. He's like, I don't even know where it is. He jumps on a phone, he calls a bunch of people, and finally finds that we have a custodian, a trade secret custodian. And so we go down and meet this custodian, a wonderful, very elderly woman. She kind of comes up. Oh, it's very nice to meet you, Mr. Lanu. Oh, very nice to meet you. And we have little pleasantries. And he says, and this is outside of any protected environment. This is like in a hallway, basically. And this is, if this was released, their business is over. And so he says, oh, where is it? She goes, right there. And we all turn this way, and standing right there is like a file cabinet out of the 1970s. Like the one with the push button at the top and everything. No padlock, no nothing. Sitting straight in the middle of it, not in a vault, just like basically in a hallway where janitory people are cleaning up, and there's no real security. It's quasi-public environment. And at the bottom, in a blue label, it says trade secret materials. And the cabinet above, in a red lab, trade secret process. I never saw a client turn white in my entire life. And he did, because it's everything. But he just assumed it was protected, and It was hard papers. They basically didn't put it on a computer because they were worried about cyber. They put it on paper so they could, track what worked, what didn't work. It was basically the history of that product from the two-step process.
Yeah, that must have been a while ago because I remember like the um, facility staff used to be the security director. Pre 9/11, it was the janitor. So I mean, we're dating ourselves here. But yeah, so I don't. It doesn't surprise me that she had the trade secrets because she was the security director at that company. I'm
Oh,
sure.
she was the custodian for it, right? But no one really asked the question about where are our critical assets? How are we protecting our critical assets that could create a significant business interruption? So we kind of sometimes shine a light on things that you wouldn't have otherwise expected. Crime data usually is also very revealing as to problems that could be expected. The stories just go on and on and on.
Well, we got to keep moving. Where does the art of the possible in aid to entry technology fit in your world? Like, where do you see where are we headed?
Where do I see where we're headed, or where do I put
Yeah,
my brakes on where I don't think we should heat?
I want both. I mean, that's what the purpose of this is. Is like we were just talking about leave. What was that? The Julia Roberts movie. Like, I don't have the answers, but leave this world behind, or what was the name
Yeah,
of the movie? I
leave the world behind.
leave the world behind. You got to watch that. That's just creepy, and it could happen tomorrow. But we're very reliant on these suckers, and
Yeah, we are.
I just don't know. So that's why I created this podcast to like talk about say and slay, I guess. Sean, that's really what I want is I want your honest opinion on where we're headed.
We're moving to a consolidated mobile credential that's going to have everything. It's basically going to be like the movie The Circle.
Yes. Or I want what's part 2 of that? The every. There's another book on that. But yeah, so I mean, I think the train has left the station and we're sort of almost in that we're in the process of this happening.
The train's approaching the destination. We just have multiple tracks, and they need to get one track to go into where that destination is going to be. Right now, there's a lot of infighting as to what's going to happen, and there's a lot of politics that are occurring, and market development that is going to lead that. It's kind of akin to beta and VHS back in the day. For those that understand those letters, VHS and beta, like there's gonna be somebody like, what the heck is that? What's a VHS? I mean, the format wars are pretty much over now with the conversion to everything online and digital and audio MP4s and all that stuff. Those format wars are pretty much over. But back in the day, Sony led the kind of, hey, it's going to be mini disc. Oh, it's going to be high definition deck. It's going to be high definition tape. It's going to be 8-track. It's going to be cassette tape. All these different formats they tried to push out, and they would change it so you got to buy the same music over and over. But my comment to VHS and beta is really kind of similar to what's going on in the mobile world right now, specifically with Android and iOS. And it's very similar to the VHS and beta challenges back in the day. So beta was a much smaller cassette, much higher quality actually than VHS. And VHS wound up winning the format war. You know how
yeah, the
VHS
better mousetrap sometimes loses.
you know how VHS won the format war?
I do not.
They were embedded into pornography.
Okay. Yeah. The
So they owned
oldest
they owned a large market that you couldn't use a beta and VHS together. You needed to have a beta player or a VHS player. And the market was, everybody had these devices, and so VHS with pornography, boom, right? So same
I was
thing.
gonna say the P word, which isn't porn, it's proprietary almost. It's either one or the other.
And then we had Blu-ray and HD DVD. And you know what killed HD DVD?
No, tell me.
Pornography again.
I should have guessed. Well, the oldest profession wins.
Well,
All
Disney,
right, I'm ready for the next one.
yeah,
I'm ready for the next one.
Disney was in part with that because they owned a great deal of the Blu-ray market with the, producing the cartoons and the Snow Whites and all the different things, right? So I mean, we're here with that same format war with Android and Apple. And Apple is being very smart about it right now, and they're going back to their roots like they did with their when they gave Macs away to schools. They are embedding into college and universities with Apple Pay. Everything Apple Pay. They're trying to push Apple Pay. And Apple Pay is just not Apple Pay. Apple Pay is everything. You can put your passport, your driver's license, your medical card, your student ID, your parking validation. They're trying to be this module within their phone that controls everything, but their module is only going to work with their phone. Very similar to VHS and beta.
We talked about your fears. My fear are door props, and I know everybody has that. I'm sure that's one of those. Everybody normalized their door props, is what I call. In your assessments, there's always probably a bunch of people saying, "Oh, the cleaning staff's got to get in. If we lock that door, we can't get into the office to clean it." I think with this new technology, you could onboard that cleaning staff and make sure the right people are getting into the building that need to get into the building, because that's one of those insane, like, why aren't you fixing that, Mr. Security Director? Door props seem like a really big problem. Everybody knows in the company what doors remain open. So how do we make sure nothing bad happens? And I think that's a really easy one to fix. Again, in that, wouldn't better aid to entry technology eliminate the need for checking your door props?
Well, I think the other thing too is just an efficiency, right? So I've got a project right now where we are going to integrate a visitor management platform into an access control platform. So the visitor management platform will act as basically the gatekeeper for contractor onboarding. So you don't have to onboard contractors anymore. The contractor they get invited by a trusted person within the firm. They fill out all the background information, what have you. If they get all the check boxes and everything, then the system will send them a QR code. They go to the gate, they present the QR code. That's their enrollment code, if you will. And then they're taking a facial capture. And then that moving forward, that facial capture then becomes the ID in the access control system. And so we're not issuing cards. There's efficiency in not issuing cards. This is an older population, so we have to be very cautious because many of these contractors are using flip phones, and these are specialized contractors. If they say they're not going to do it, they don't have recourse. There's nobody trained. There's no trades to support this, right? So we need to be cognizant of the environment that we're working in. But it seems very favorable to really have good record keeping, documentation, and drive the efficiency. I mean, there's like 4 people that we're eliminating with this system.
And you mentioned it's managing the data. It's making sure that you're getting rid of whatever you need to get rid of, when you need to get rid of it, and then proving that you got rid of it. Maybe even sending a notification. We just got rid of all your stuff, contractor. You're going to probably have to re-onboard if you come back to the office. We apologize. So that's where the BIPA lawsuit becomes a big issue, is just proving you got rid of the data at a certain point. And, that's great. That's awesome to hear that visitor management, access, integrations, using new aid to entry technology exists and is being used. And I'm happy to hear that. That's why we're here. So we're promoting that, and I hope somebody emails you and calls you and wants to know how they can do that. That's sort of the purpose for having you on the show. Next question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1's the train wreck and 10's tranquility, peacefulness, can we trust what's going on with this interconnectedness with big tech?
1.
Okay.
1, 1, 1.
Yeah,
1, 1 all day.
I watched that movie last night.
There's cyber exploits that I mean, it's essentially Doug, you giving me a house and saying, Sean, secure this house for me. Okay. And you don't ever go visit the house. You don't ever go look at the house. You just trust that I did secure the house. And in many cases, they're not securing the house. Moreover, there is a lot of root exploitable vulnerabilities from a cyber perspective. Like when we start getting into TLS 1, 2, 3, and
What's TLS? Some of my clients don't know, and I don't know what TLS is. I'll be honest.
that's
What's TLS?
basically how you transmit data on when you go to your bank, how you transmit and you encrypt that data. So it's a secure socket essentially. So, and there's different versions, right? Because you're improving on things. The same thing as cryptography. I mean, you got 128-bit, 256-bit, and with quantum computing, we're probably going to go even beyond that. Quantum computing really is very, very scary because there's nothing that we have that a quantum computer can't beat. And that's in communication, that's in things. So I really think we're asking for a lot of problems. One, you're outsourcing the reliance of your security to a third party that you have no guarantees that they're actually doing what they're doing. Two, you have a gajillion, and I say that with emphasis and accuracy of threat actors. So physical security, maybe there's, like you can go onto YouTube, you can research, I got my flipper, I got this, I can break into a building, whatever. It's a handful. Maybe, we'll say 500 people know how to do that. Are they located where this asset is? No. You've got all these kids, hackers, non-state actors, all basically knocking on the door of these respective computer systems. My server is daily hit by Russia, Netherlands, and China. I've just now recently, because I got so much of it that I just blocked those IP addresses. So I no longer take connections that are outside the United States. I don't have to. There's no server connection that I need that's outside the United States. And if for some reason my backup server no longer works, then I know that server's in Russia and I shouldn't be using that service anyway. So, there's a lot of people don't understand the complexity of behind. It's like the cloud, the cloud, really like uses the word the cloud. It's in the cloud. It's a nice fluffy area. Nothing will ever happen in the cloud. But when you start breaking down the cloud, you're like, wow, that kind of sucks. You have to ask the question, why do Dropbox, Google, OneDrive give gajillions amounts of data storage? What's their benefit in that? You have to, you start thinking about that. Well, because they're probably scraping the data. They're probably scraping it. They're anonymizing it, but they're finding out everything from everybody's computer, and you're basically hosting it. I can't think of any other reason why you would want to give up servers of data for free.
Right. I mean, there's always a catch.
Right.
So
It's
nobody considered the catch until 15 years later.
I mean, if people really knew what they were giving up, I bet people would be, they may not. I mean, some might just like, I don't care. I need to have my backup. I need to have my access to, my phone breaks or whatever. So there's that convenience, right? There's that convenience with this decision you're going to make. Convenience always trumps security. Always trumps security. I want it secure. Well, it's not convenient. Wow, make it convenient because I want it, I want to be able to get in when I want to get in. And then when something happens, well, how could this happen? Well, because you wanted us to just enable the password that we've been using for the last 25 years because you didn't want to write it down.
The industry everywhere right now is talking about digital credentials inside of this digital wallet for access permissions, specifically for aid to entry solutions inside businesses for that better employee experience, I'll call it. What's your take on that? I know we talked about it a little bit, but this whole uh, credential and a wallet, how does that look and work and feel for
I'm
what are you
totally
hearing
against,
out
I'm
there?
1000% against it. That doesn't mean I'm not designing it. I'm totally and utterly against the mobile credential, but I am actively designing it for multiple clients today.
Yeah. Well, what if it's a little language model that sits in a company as opposed to the large language model, which I refer to as the, out in the wild, is, using this technology out in the wild, having my all of my information on my phone. What if it could be done inside the corporation? And it could be.
I've got a corporate client that's doing that right now. They have actually created their own application to read Signo and transmit Signo via NFC, completely outside of HID's. They've developed their own. Still against it.
I tell people it's kind of like Uber. Nobody wanted to get into some car. You had no clue who that person was at your front door. But now that became kind of the norm. I think starting something like what we're talking about in the walls of the building, inside the corporation, on their network, um, and doing that successfully might be the beginnings of this conversation, I think.
Again, just because I'm against it does not mean it's not going to happen. I know it's going to happen. I absolutely know it's going to happen. You're right. No one wanted to step into Uber, but then after a while, they realized the convenience of being able to have their car waiting for them as they walk outside the door, dedicated for them, and off they went. But was that exploited? Were people accosted and hurt, murdered, raped, sexually assaulted? Absolutely, right? The same thing is with the mobile credentials. Not that you're going to be sexually assaulted, but there's going to be drawbacks. When we talk about these things, it's all driven by convenience. It's what do you want to give up for that speed, that efficiency, or whatever. Like, a good example is Chat GPT, right? Anything you put into Chat GPT, they own. Anything. You are contributing to the build of their model. And some people are paying for it. So they opened it up to everybody because they are building that AI. That AI is taking that input, just like we do with facial recognition, where you've got machine learning that learns the system, what have you. Same exact thing, right? Convenience is going to drive what they want to do. I want to be able to walk in and I got a face reader and walk. I don't even have to pull my card out or anything, and it knows who I am, and I walk in, right? Does it have the right false acceptance, false rejection settings? Who knows, right? But will it work? I mean, we had some face readers. You could put a tablet up and it wouldn't be able to tell the difference of that picture. Literally took a picture of a university staff member, blew it up on my tablet, put it in front of the face reader. It opened the door.
Yeah, you get what you pay for. There's different levels of liveness. I mean, so I wanted to talk about MDLs, but we could talk about that for another 2 hours. But, there's a few states that have them. And I think everybody's pursuing that, especially Apple and Samsung. Um, what's your take on the mobile wallet today, or the mobile the digital driver's license, the MDL, mobile driver's license?
We're not there yet. I mean, we're getting there. Again, that's what I talked about, where Apple's really trying to drive that market by integrating everybody at the university, that's what they use and accept. I have found, though, in many places, Apple Wallet's not accepted. They won't take my Apple Wallet.
Yeah, it worked really well in my era, that Apple thing, because I had an Apple computer, and when I was a journalism student at the university that I went to, and everything was going from it was the digital transformation in 1992 of publishing, at least printing whatever you were selling, and that all went from blue lines to Macs, and when I graduated, I wanted a Mac, but I didn't get one. So this is all great, but how do we really know who the person is, who they say they are, when we're doing all these new identity permissions? I ask that because identity verification in the digital wallet, how do I My big beef with this, and this is the $1 billion question here. If you have this, please tell me. But when I've got my digital credential in my digital wallet, how do they know it's me holding that phone? Because it's still like the Wiegand card or the smart card at that point, because there's no way to identify me at that point of entering the building or logging onto the computer.
So I mean, it looks at you look at you've got so is it a biometric? So right now, like with a key is something you have to carry, right? And access control is something that you have to carry. Something that is like a PIN code, like I got to punch in a PIN code,
Yeah,
right?
the
But
forms
that,
of authentication.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really obtrusive, right? Or something that's inherent to you is biometrics. I mean, it seems reasonable to think that, down the road that you're going to walk up on a biometric reader and there's going to be an integration with the app on your phone that once this biometric reader sees your face, it's going to then send out a signal that's going to make your phone come alive and send back a communication to say, yep, the person in front of me definitely has this phone. So we got a two for thing. Definitely, this is the individual.
So multi-factor,
Yeah,
like you could throw some multi-factor at that reader.
the right respondent that puts together this program will unify cyber access into the physical credential. You don't lead with the physical credential, you lead with the cyber access, right? So is it a camera that has software on there that recognizes that I'm in front of the thing and the computer turns on? Yes, I'm sitting at my desk. Is it a phone that's in proximity to the computer or what have you? That is what is going to drive the integration for physical access, because that access, okay, I got my Apple wallet or I got my Android phone or whatever it is, then the questions are going to be, okay, all of our people are using computers wherever they are. We know who they are. No more passwords, no more remembering anything. You're just looking at the camera. AI's generating, seeing that changes over time, recognizes that you got a wrinkle here now that I'm not gonna um, review that anymore. That is what's going to drive physical access. And we're talking about physical access driving cyber, but in terms of the number of computers there are to people, it's much, much more likely that cyber access will drive physical requirements in the future.
Well, I don't think cyber wants to change today, and access hasn't changed in 100 years. So I feel like that's we got the foot in the door a little bit for showing people new things in physical access, because the way we're doing it today is not so secure. I
Well, if
say,
HID was smart, they would be getting with people on the cyber side and figuring out what that credential is going to be, and then they drive that credential, the new credential down the road, and you buy more air with them. I mean, that's the goal for HID. HID clearly does not want to make cards anymore. They want to buy. They want you to buy air, like my son does on League of Legends, right? So it's you buy air and the air expires, then buy more air, right? And there's no tangible thing that you hold. It's just inherent.
all right, speed round. In your world today, what's the elephant in the room?
As it relates to this discussion,
Yeah, access control. I'd like to, or security.
the elephant in the room is about credentialing.
What was your first real world digital transformation experience?
I would say there's two moments right this year that are very closely aligned, which suggest a tipping point for me, that we're going to see some pretty amazing things. One is ChatGPT, just how amazing that platform is and what it can do from someone just typing a conversation. Even if you write it wrong, it knows what you're aiming for. The time efficiency is just, I mean, it's unbelievable. But moreover, I bought a new car, tooling around in my new car, enjoying it, and it is integrated into my phone in ways that I have never ever ever thought of. Driving, I was down giving a presentation for my fraternity, for emerging leaders, and I get in the car, and it just happened yesterday. I get in the car, it's a brand new car, and I'm driving. Ba-ding, would you like to go to home? I don't ask it anything. I don't think it just knows that I'm heading in the direction of home. And do you want directions to home? Or just the ability to, hey, where's this? Where's this Starbucks? Where's that? And just give an address and boom, you got a location that, oh, listen to Metallica. I don't have to flip through channels anymore. Oh, Metallica is playing on 103.5. It's playing on Sirius XM. Your
Oh,
Spotify channel has
it's probably going to tell you where their next concert is in Chicago,
e-
or where go see Metallica on September whatever.
exactly, exactly. And then the third, there's actually a third convergence, and that is this thing. HTC Vive. And it's not the augmented reality like the Apple, but that is
no, Sean. You know what? You know why those are going to take off?
yeah. I know crime's going to go up because a lot of people are going to get mugged with them on the train.
Oh no, I'm going to say I'm going to throw porn at you again.
I mean,
That's going to make
it possibly could be. I mean, the HTC Vive. I mean, I gotta say, it is. I can have a 75-inch monitor now like that if I wanted to. I can watch a movie. I mean, those things really suggest to me that we're at a tipping point for something very, very tremendous here in the next 5 to 7 years.
all right. Biometrics and AI for identity and authentication, safe or unsafe at any speed?
I mean, it really is going to be dependent. So we don't have any standards, right? And so it depends on the AI model. It depends on the programming. It depends on if it really is AI. How many clients, how many customers, how many products you say AI enabled or AI embedded. And then you start having the discussion with the programmer and he goes, yeah, it's not really AI. It's machine learning. The marketing just likes the word AI. Okay. Well, you know, is it really what it's saying it is to be? The fundamentals of AI present an opportunity to drive recognition and likeness beyond what any human could do. Faster, more efficient, but it will be dependent on that model and programming, which we have no standards to benchmark against.
All right. Um, Everybody has a body. Every body part could be a biometric. Do you have a favorite, or do you have one that you think's the best use case for your clients? I know every building's a snowflake. Every vertical market has their issues. Is there one that you think is more
I don't,
trusted?
I don't want
Or
to touch anything. I had a hospital, it was during COVID. They really wanted to do these finger biometric readers into specific areas. They were really hot to trot on it. And then COVID hit, and they instructed the cleaning company to go around and clean all the biometric sensors with a caustic material, and it killed the sensor. So I don't think we want to touch anything in a post-COVID world. No touching anything. Everything handless, contactless.
we can do that. We can do that.
So facial, I think facial has an opportunity. I saw some pretty cool technology 3 years ago. I don't know what happened to it, but it was iris, and it used megapixel camera. It actually could look at the face and zoom in on the iris and authenticate access based on iris. But there are some challenges with iris as it relates to false rejection. So I like facial. I think facial is probably the best way to go forward.
All right. A fun one. Vacation destination, beach or mountains or other location, if you want to give it to me. And familiar or uncharted waters. Do you want to go somewhere you always go or somewhere else?
So my family, I follow my family. So Hawaii is next vacation for us coming up. I'd like to go to Fiji someday. I just came 2 years ago. I did Area 51, Storm Area 51. That was quite the experience. I really enjoyed that, hiking and camping and seeing how large Area 51 was. That was pretty phenomenal. I would like to do. There's not a river walk, but it's kind of like the water cuts through, and you can actually walk down. It's kind of like mountain climbing, but you're on water. That's something that I'd like to do.
And then how many times do you use aid to entry technology for physical and online access permissions on a daily basis?
Not really. I am not personally using it. A lot of my clients have apps like building apps and what have you that are having a do a lot more than just entry. Like I want to, turn on the temperature in my office. I want to get the coffee maker going. I want to select the elevator it's going to come get me. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility in that regard. But for me, really, I haven't been using, well, I take that back. My phone,
I was, I was
My
just going to
NFC
say,
phone works with my car.
okay. Yeah, it's always like, when you've got your router in your house for the first time and hooked it up, there was like two things connected to it. Now the average house has like 25 things, and half the people don't even know what 23 of them are. So now we're almost at the end. We've talked for an hour. Usually my closeout question for you, and for every podcast, I ask Sean Ahrens in the eighth century conversation, what does the art of the possible mean to you? And what areas of access control for physical and online do you see as being the low hanging fruit for businesses? What vertical markets do you think are ready to handle compliance, consent, privacy, trust, and handling data ethically for mobile touchless frictionless solutions in their offices?
So there's two questions there from an unpack, like what's the art of the possible? So I'll start with that. Um, I envision that your mobile credential will do everything for you from, medical alert, like the first responders will be able to look at your phone and unlock the phone and get the medical stuff because they've got a special key to do it and see, what you're allergic to or what have you in a car accident. I see the phone being able to communicate during an emergency when something happens to you, like your heart rate is out of arrhythmia, or even in the future potentially being able to ascertain blood sugar levels by just recognizing falling down. Going into the building, you would walk up. You don't use your face. You just walk right up to the thing and the turnstile door is open. It's going to say go to elevator E2. You're going to go to E2. On your way up, it's going to set the temperature in your office to 70 degrees because it knows the way you like that. That's going to be an integration to the access system, to the HVAC system. You're going to get up to your office. You're going to sit down at your computer, and the computer's going to just come on. No password, no nothing. Welcome, James. You're going to walk away from your computer. You're going to get about 8 feet away. Computer's shut down immediately. And it's going to be all basically integrated, interwoven, all database driven. How that works without being a completely proprietary, anyone's guess. How that works without any standards to benchmark, it's probably going to be a proprietary world. This is probably why Google and Android are pushing so heavily the adoption of the mobile phone, because while they created a product that establishes communication, the opportunities for this product are gajillions of dollars that could be made in all different markets.
What are the conversations or interactions you'd like to have with our audience? Like, what do you,
I mean, the question is, how important is security to convenience? Next question would be, do you fully comprehend what's behind the door that allows this connectivity to happen? Do you know where that data is going? Do you know where that data is residing? Do you know who has access to that data? Do you basically know how the car runs? Have you opened up the hood and know, hey, this is the engine, or is it carburetor, here's a fuel injector? Do you know all those parts and pieces? Or are you just relying on Bob, who says, this is right here, this is the best product known to man right here. It's awesome. It's great.
Bob at the trade show.
This is, it can do that. Absolutely, it can do that. Oh, it can do that too. Oh, yeah, yeah. And cleaners, it'll clean your clothes. Yeah, absolutely. And then when you get it, you're like, why isn't this working? Well, that's a software upgrade. we're getting there. We're gonna whiteboard that. Or what's the roadmap? I love the word roadmap. Roadmap means I have no idea that you wanted this, and we're gonna think about it and how do we be able to deliver it. So these McKinsey kinds of words.
Yeah, there needs to be like 100 car crashes before they put up the stoplight.
Yes. Yes. And so this is the world, that people need to recognize. I guess the third component is, will you really use it? Is it just like super sexy to you, or will you really use this functionality? And then my last question is, with all of this interoperability, everything, the computer, the elevator, the phone, paying over the phone, you take your phone everywhere. What happens if you drop your phone? Or moreover, what happens if the system breaks? Are you prepared for what comes in? I don't know how to get to the elevator. I don't, where are the stairs? What do I do? We are putting, just like what happened at AT&T, we are putting all of our eggs into one basket. AT&T runs FirstNet. FirstNet is like the Minutemen network for emergency responders. When AT&T went down, FirstNet went down. Everybody is using cell phones now. We are not using mobile, no one gets home lines anymore because there's no need, right? We've fully adopted into the cell phone. The problem is, what happens if that system doesn't work and everything we know is here? Close out my last thing, mobile, not related to mobile aid, but really puts just a icing on the cake of this discussion, and really talks about those 3 questions I talked about that we should be asked, or 4 questions. So I'm with my daughter. We're at a university. We're walking around. We see the Code Blue station that you see at all the universities. And they just they brag about how awesome it is and everything and it's got stickers and fraternity things and the dim faded blue light and all that stuff. And maybe it wasn't Code Blue, but just using for the term Code Blue, right? So it's a call for assistance box. So we're walking around and I don't see any call for assistance boxes. And so I ask, where's the call for assistance boxes? And they say, well, I'm glad you asked. We have transitioned to an app. It is the blank blank app. The blank blank app does everything. It tells you where buses are. It tells you what food. You can order things. You can buy stuff. You can talk to people immediately. You can have this. And for those walking late at night, they will have a personal assistant that they can press and will immediately communicate to police where they are, what's going on, open up 2-way voice communication. It's phenomenal. And I looked down at my phone and I got no bars.
Another great conversation with you. I know we just had one last week at the coffee shop, but we're going to put all these interesting tidbits that we can in the chat, any links we can. Sean, thank you for your time. We learned a lot today. I learned a lot today.
Yeah, it was a cool conversation.
Yeah, season 1, episode 3 is in the can of the Aid to Entry podcast, and I look forward to collaborating with you on the art of the possible in the future. I like to say it in close, let's get physical and online access permissions under control before it's too late.